I would like to call to order this special meeting of the Currituck County Board of Commissioners on Monday, January 27th.
It's microphone.
And at this time, this is a continuation of the agenda from last week, so that's why it's a special meeting. We don't have our normal order of business tonight. We're going to go straight to the business. Do we have to approve the agenda as written?
Nope.
Okay, so we go straight to item
Straight
one.
to, yep, that's right.
All right, new business. Item 1, sole source purchase resolution authorizing the purchase of Hersey meters from Waterworks Meteorology LLC. But before you do that, let me just, Tony could not be here tonight. Commissioner Angel could not be here tonight, but he sent his best for everybody. Madam Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So tonight you have for consideration a resolution authorizing the purchase of Hersey meters from Waterworks Metrology through sole source purchase pursuant to General Statute 143-129E6. So for these meters are required for the proper functioning of the county's Southern Outer Banks water system, and they are full replacement meters that are compatible with existing systems. So we are looking for consideration of this resolution this evening.
All right, does anyone have any questions for the county manager?
That's that's the same ones that they went to a couple years ago, correct?
So not for Southern Outer Banks. They actually they've had these meters for several years, but it is a different meter than we have on the mainland.
Okay.
All right,
Something in here that said they were the only ones who made this meter that was needed. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's why we need the sole source resolution.
all right, any further questions? Hearing none, we need a motion from the board.
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 2, sole source purchase resolution authorizing the purchase of GlideScope Go-To monitor and supplies from Verathon Inc. And Madam Manager, please make the statement as to why we have to do this. Because of them being the sole source, it requires us to pass a resolution in order to do business with a sole source.
That's correct. So this is an exception from state statute procurement laws. So we have to go through this sole source
When there's only
process.
one person or one company that can supply what's needed.
That's correct.
Okay, I just want to make
Yes.
sure the public at home understands
And
why.
that's okay. I thought the company's name was Sole Source. I got what you're saying now.
Yeah,
Right.
Thank you.
okay, thank
Right.
you.
Sure. So this resolution before you this evening is for the purchase of the GlideScope Go-To monitor through Verathon Inc. The county's current McGrath scope, which is utilized by fire and EMS, has reached end of life. And the new standards for drug-assisted intubation and rapid sequence intubation pilot programs require the recording of procedures for quality assurance and quality improvement. And this particular company is the sole and exclusive manufacturer of this product. Therefore, we are requesting the use of the sole source procurement option for this item. In layman's terms, this item is the video laryngoscope, which is used for intubation.
All right, any questions for the manager? Hearing none, we need a motion from the board. Have a motion?
Second.
Second, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Next item, consideration of recommendation of award for the airport hangar project.
All right, thank you. So tonight, you have before you the recommendation of award from Talbert and Bright for the hangar and taxi lanes and T-hangar project at Currituck Regional Airport. Bids were received on Wednesday, December 18th. There were 4 bids received, and A.R. Chesson is the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, and the amount of $3,903,000. $903,508.02. And the consultant recommends the award to A.R. Chesson in that amount, plus any selected bid alternatives. In this case, which would likely be for undercut, unexpected undercut.
Mr. Chairman, can I intervene? And this may be for the attorney. A.R. Chesson Company, I want to say 2022, maybe, 2 years ago, and some change. I did a job for them, so do I need to recuse myself? I haven't done anything in 2
No.
years.
No.
No.
I was actually a
Not in
fill-in.
this
They fired somebody and
circumstance.
had to come in and finish the job in Elizabeth City.
The finisher.
Yeah.
No.
So it's my understanding the funds from this are from state monies?
It's a combination. So the $4 million that we were awarded or appropriated from the General Assembly last year is the bulk of this project, and the remaining amount is from state aided funds, and then there is also a small match from the county.
Just the typical match that we typically have to make for
In this
grants.
case, it's only it's $29,000, which is
Right.
actually a budget amendment and the TDA.
So all but $29,000 of the $4 million is coming from other sources.
That's correct.
That's pretty good return on your money.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
All right?
And so if also with the consideration of this evening, if you could include delegation of signature authority to the manager, please.
All right, questions? Hearing none, we have a motion. If you make a motion, please consider
Both parts.
the delegation of authority for the manager to sign.
So moved.
We have a motion from Commissioner Etheridge,
Second.
second from Commissioner Rose. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Number 4, consideration for approval of design fee proposal, Moyoc wastewater treatment system.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this evening, you have consideration of the design fee proposal. The design build team is T.A. Loving and Kimley Horn. And this is for the construction of the Moyoc Regional Wastewater Treatment Plant. This is the replacement project, ultimately the expansion and replacement of that wastewater treatment plant. The design fee amount is $2,067,782.76. This, again, is just the fee for design and the pre-construction scope.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Is the screen that we see the same screen that people are
It's
seeing
not.
at home?
It's not. I apologize.
Okay, I just want to make sure that people can see what's actually going on and not what I'm seeing.
Thank you. I apologize.
Okay,
This is for the 300,000 gallon capacity
That's
plant,
correct.
correct?
That's correct.
And do we have a timeline as to when the contract will be finalized, when we'll, like, besides just the design, the next phase?
shovel in the ground.
So I don't have that in front of me this evening, but I believe the estimated completion was 24 months. I'd have to go back and look, but I can
Months?
I can
Okay,
look
I
back.
don't need an exact, I just needed to kind of know the timeline, 24 months? Okay.
It may be longer than that, but I'll follow up.
The 300 gallons is the additional. Now we have what is the?
It will be 300,000 gallons per day
300,000, yeah, not 300. Yeah,
total.
300 would be like.
Total.
So the plant that's about finished now that we're testing, the modular unit that was brought in, that is 100,000 gallons?
That's correct.
And that one is how far out? Maybe 6 weeks, 60 days from being ready?
I mean, it's operational. We're working
We're
through
just waiting on
yes, you're trying to get the biologicals straight, and
Have we had any preliminary results?
we have, yes, we have. There's one parameter that we are currently not meeting, so we're working to get in line with that.
So roughly, what, 30 to 90 days? 180
I
tops?
hesitate to give you that. I know they're working with the manufacturer, and they are testing pretty much daily to try and get
get
things
that.
going. It's been difficult because of the cold weather too.
Oh, yeah. But once they meet that parameter, then correct me if I'm wrong, I know we've talked about this multiple times. So once they meet that final parameter and then they do testing, we're gonna have to wait for, like, the state will wanna see 90 days of, hey, the last 3 months you've done A, B, C, and D, you're good, and then we'd be done, correct? Or something like that kind of?
Yes, they're going to want a period of performance that shows that we are complying with our permit. And once we achieve that, then they will likely let us add some users onto the system.
Okay.
Is it possible to get the person that's in charge of that project to come and talk with us at the next meeting?
In charge of the,
The plant that's currently being built, so they could maybe give us a timeline and more details on what's lacking and why it's not operating?
I think that would be beneficial for the whole board and the community to know where we are and what it's going to look like when it's finished. In other words, the plant we're replacing was how many gallons? This one will be how many, which will give extra capacity. Plus, I assume we're going to leave the 100,000. We're going to keep that as well.
we are going to try to work that in, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so there's possible we could have 400,000 if we're able to.
So the designer is evaluating whether or not it makes sense to expand to 400,000 gallons. So they're going to look at both sizes as they
Yeah, I
work through this.
realize you don't
right.
expand until you need it. So
Yes,
I
so
just
they're-
think the community needs to know
Sure.
where it's going on. There's some pent-up growth on some commercial businesses, my understanding, that there are some commercial people that are looking at Currituck, but this is the key for them to pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a discussion would be profitable for everyone.
Okay.
And we're we're right at the finish line. And then once we get the,
Close, yes.
yeah, and then just the testing from the state, and then they say, hey, green light.
So
Okay.
what's before us tonight, just to be clear, this is just for the design fees.
That's correct.
Right.
So it's not for the actual construction, this is,
No.
so we're not to the construction phase, but when we get to the construction phase, we're talking 24 months roughly, right? Isn't that the original time frame?
Yes, yeah, but let me confirm that and get back to you. But yes, this is just for design.
I was bringing up the additional 100 because I know with the mobile plant, we're almost there for that. That's what I
Yeah.
brought
Yeah,
up.
but that's not
We're-
for this. This is
No.
just for the design.
We're
for the
chasing
3D.
rabbits again, and
Yeah.
I'm guilty of it. But the one thing we do need is somebody to come and explain to us where we are and where we're going.
With all sewage?
Yes, all the way across the board.
100,000, the 300,000?
Yes, timeline, so
Yes,
forth, and that
yes.
gives you, second meeting in February gives you a month to pull it together.
Sure,
All
absolutely.
right.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Sure.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Hearing none, do we have a motion?
So moved.
A question,
Oh.
do you need authorization on this one too?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so make the motion with.
So moved for the motion and so moved for the managers as well.
Second. For
And
all
that,
to execute the
for the
contract.
manager means authorization
Authorization.
to execute
Execute
the
the contract.
contract.
Yes.
Yes.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second proper. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next is number 5, mutual aid agreement with City of Chesapeake for fire and EMS response service.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you is a mutual aid agreement. It's for the mutual rendering of fire EMS service between the county and the city of Chesapeake. We've had this for quite some time. This is just extending that, and it's kind of open-ended as far as the term. It can be terminated at any time by either party. It's an optional, it doesn't require us, obligate us to render that aid if we're unable to do so, but it gives us that option to receive aid and to render it as well.
All right.
Can I ask one more question on that one too? This does not include it's in Chesapeake, but I know it's the federal, this does not include Northwest.
No, it's not.
This is
That's
just
a
the,
separate
This is the city of
we
Chesapeake.
have a separate agreement with them, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
because you're right, that's a federal base, you're right.
Yep.
Is this the group that helps us with Gibbs Woods needs?
No, they're out of.
No, that's Virginia Beach, which we have an agreement with them too.
With them.
And we actually help, I think our guys actually helped them this
Yeah,
weekend.
Virginia Beach helps Gibbs Woods and Knott's Island. And then Chesapeake would come across for Moyock, and of course, we would go there if something
yeah.
catastrophic happened.
They did, I think, the other day. Our guys went there the other day.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for approval.
And also, the signature line is for myself, so if you could delegate that signature authority to the county attorney as well.
I'll amend that to motion for approval with authorizing the county attorney to execute contract. Second.
I
Resolution.
have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Item 6. Man, I don't even need to pull my ink pen out tonight. Y'all making it easy. Item 6, ordinance amendment for the order of proceedings.
Yes, thank you,
That's
Mr.
the
Chairman.
County attorney.
Yes, sir. Before you is an ordinance amendment. Now, I'll caution you, because this is an ordinance amendment, it does require unanimous consent for it to pass tonight, which with the absence of Commissioner Angel, we will not be able to actually adopt it tonight. You can vote on it, but it will actually be adopted next meeting if you have a majority vote in favor of it. And that goes for the next item as well on the agenda. So before you is changing the order of business at the Board of Commissioners meetings. So currently, we have the commissioners' reports, county managers' reports, and county attorneys' reports prior to the new business. And so this actually puts those 3 items at the end of the meeting right before the adjournment. It also separates out the quasi-judicial evidentiary hearings and the legislative hearings. So they would have 2 separate headings on the agenda to kind of eliminate some confusion there with who can testify and who cannot testify for those.
So I'm looking at, are you discussing page 68?
Page 68.
So where the strike throughs, like public hearing and stuff like that?
Yes, so originally it said public hearings, and that was it. So instead of it just being a blanket public hearings, there's now 2 categories. The first
Okay,
one, quasi-judicial evidentiary, and then legislative. And then the reports are now at the end.
So we're moving the approval of the minutes to number 32 line item? Never mind. Forget that question. I see why we did. Okay, never mind. I got
Well,
it
the
now.
other thing,
I got it.
the other thing it'll do too is like if somebody has to work and they can't get here in time and they want to speak, they can get here at 7 o'clock and they can sign up and speak or raise their hand and ask to speak, correct? I mean, we used to do it back in the day. It was at the end.
Public comments.
No,
still
public
are-
comment is totally separate.
Oh, I thought it was towards the
It's
bottom.
Public
line
comment is
3,
still at
item
the
5.
beginning.
Public comment is for somebody who wants to talk about a ditch that needs cleaned out, or they've got a concern or
Not the
question.
special.
Or if they want to
Right.
tell us how great the board's doing, something
So
like that.
the
Yeah.
quasi judicial are for when we have like a,
Yeah.
yes, and then legislative hearings are when you're not doing SUPs. And moving the commissioners, the county managers, and county attorneys report is for the convenience of the public, so they don't have to sit here half the night. And for the people on the agenda who are paying high dollar people to come and speak before the board, they can go ahead and do their business and go.
Well, and the other thing too is these are taped, they're televised, so you can go
Yeah.
back and watch them later. So
That's
it makes-
correct.
Mike watches them when he gets home.
Yeah.
So anyone have questions of the attorney? Hearing none, do we have a motion for approval?
Move for approval.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 7 is a balloon ban ordinance.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask permission and pleasure of the board to allow Ms. Debbie Swick to address us before we consider this. So I would ask that consideration, please.
Without objection?
Well, Miss Swick is the individual that brought this to us. It's not the general
Correct.
public, so yes,
Right.
okay.
Without objection, proceed.
Okay. Ms. Swick?
Bring yet another balloon. Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you so much for this opportunity. My background is in restaurant management.
Can you start with your name and
Oh,
address?
I'm sorry, Debbie Swick, Southern Shores, North Carolina, and the founder of Band Balloon Releases, NC. My background was in restaurant and wedding management. I'm not an environmentalist. I'm not a politician. I have no aspirations of being so. So when this started in my heart as a mission, I really thought it was a no-brainer. I thought speaking to people was a common sense thing. Don't let the balloons go. This balloon is from a birthday party. I can't imagine that it was intentionally released. We have accidental releases. This probably slipped out of some little toddler's fingertips. We can't control those, but we can control the intentional releases. The ones that are done for weddings, for celebrations, for memorials, they're all over the news. And I have called every news station across the state that shows them. I'm asking for you and your support to ban the intentional release of helium balloons, to put an end to the actual release, the intentional gathering and letting go of hundreds of balloons sometimes that cause harm and danger to our wildlife and to our beautiful planet. I participated in the necropsy for the humpback whale that died in Kitty Hawk in December, which will be donated to a school in Currituck in several years. When you have the opportunity to stand beside one of these huge, majestic animals, you cannot help but marvel as to how frail they are because of something like this. This balloon can kill a 20-ton plus whale, just this one balloon. And I ask that you consider that they not only are litter, but in absence of color that you see, that's microplastics. That's floating around in our waterways, and it's getting into our food sources. And they haven't done enough studies on it yet, but I guarantee you it's going to affect our health and the health of our children and their children after them. So this is a win-win. There's nothing beneficial whatsoever that comes from a balloon release. There are alternatives out there that are eco-friendly and they don't cost that much money. I'm a big fan of bubbles. Husband bought me bubble guns. I travel with them all over. But I am asking you to support this issue. It is very important, and you're taking a stand for the wildlife and the planet as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank you for speaking tonight. We made a couple of important changes from the previous proposed ordinance that I think made it palatable for some of those that were so against it. We added the words intentional release and mass release. So in other words, if I'm having a birthday party and a balloon gets away, that's not intentional, it's not mass. Or if I'm advertising my great grandmother's 95th birthday and we put a balloon on the mailbox and it blows away, that's not intentional. But if we're outside and we release 100 of those intentional, that's intentional, that is pollution. It's no different than throwing a bag of garbage out in the street. It lands somewhere and it becomes pollution. So with those changes, I think the board is more inclined tonight, and some of the detractors have told me that they thought this was a reasonable compromise. And with that, I have nothing else. If the board, anyone else has a comment or question?
I'll just really quickly thank you, Ms. Swick, for being persistent. Thank you for your efforts, and thank you for your passion. I really appreciate it.
You make your motion then?
I'll move for approval.
I'll second it.
Oh, can I finish reading?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, give me 1 second.
Oh, you were, I thought we read it all. Okay,
You got me on
never
the
mind.
fence, Miss Swick. That was better than last time. I was just reading the not parts. I went through it, but when you look at it on your phone compared to the computer, it's a lot different. So the fine, because of like Senate Bill 300, is $50, correct?
Yeah.
That's right. By statute, we cannot have anything more than that. And yes, I think what you were reading, there's exceptions that are not violations. Of course, any accidental release that's not intentional, balloons released by a person on behalf of a governmental agency or pursuant to a governmental contract for scientific or meteorological purposes, hot air balloons that are recovered after landing, and balloons released inside a building or structure that do not make their way into the open air.
That was the part I was
Yeah.
just zoning in on. All right, I'm sorry.
Nope.
I did read it, but
No,
I
you're
read it
good.
on my phone. It was a little bit different.
Well, we had a motion and a second. Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Sorry, nay.
We have one nay. Motion carries.
Okay.
All right. Next item is Commissioner Travel Approval Essentials Training and NC Summit on Reducing Overdose.
So moved.
Can I second my own travel?
Would you,
No, I
sure,
was
so.
Waiting for the manager to give us a little information on it.
Sure. So this is request for approval for Commissioner Travel. The first request is for Commissioners Jarvis and Rose, who attended the Essentials course offered through the School of Government and the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. And the second is for Commissioner Jarvis to attend the North Carolina Summit on Reducing Overdose in March.
No, we have a duck in here.
There you go.
Sorry about that. I don't know how to cut it off.
I mean, where's the overdose? Commissioner Jar, where's that one at?
It's held annually in Raleigh. This is the third annual opioid summit, and I've never been able to attend because of the timing, and I look forward to it. We discussed it in our opioid advisory meeting, and it was my hope that other members would travel with me, but it looks like I'm going solo.
So I was going to ask if you had.
Yeah, so unless something changes in the next, we meet again on the 13th of of February. So right now, it's just me attending.
Oh, so moved.
Any other questions, comments? We have a motion from Commissioner McCord. We have a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Etheridge. Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Board appointments is Historic Preservation Commission appointments consensus. I believe it would be a reappointment of Mary Simmons and Barbara Snowden till 2029.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Next item, number 2, is Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, consideration of Brandon Johnson for appointment to the JCPC, replacing Mr. Ray Matusko.
So moved.
You have a motion?
Just real quickly, Ray Matusko at our last meeting, he talked about what a joy and what a great opportunity serving on the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council has been. He has been invaluable with his insight for our council, and I will miss him. And he also sang the praises of Brandon Johnson, who I taught, and look forward to serving with him as well. So we will miss Ray Matusko at the JCPC, but we welcome Brandon.
Brandon does he runs the courts on all the criminal side for the clerk of courts, and it's not Brandon Johnson who's the mayor of Chicago too. So I thought everybody should know that.
I
I
believe
would not vote for that one.
we had a motion from Commissioner Etheridge, and
From
who
me.
seconded it?
I'll
That was-
second it,
I made the motion.
Oh,
Rose.
Commissioner Rose made the motion.
and I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Next item is consent agenda.
Move for approval.
We have a motion for approval.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
We need a motion to adjourn this special meeting and reconvene as the Tourism Development Authority.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All right, we are now in session as the Tourism Development Authority. Item 1 is budget amendment. Madam Manager?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so this is the budget amendment that will provide the $29,000 that will be used towards the taxi lane and hangar project for the airport.
All right. And anybody have questions? We need a motion for approval.
Motion for approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, recommended revisions to event grant award program and travel tourism.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So on page 104 of your agenda packet, Tourism Director Tamron Kugler provided a summary for you all. So at the January 13th TAB meeting, the Tourism Advisory Board, the advisory board voted to submit changes to the event grant guidelines. And just to provide, there's also on page 105 of your agenda packet is a summary of the travel and tourism event grant program. The purpose of the program is to attract visitors to the county for events. So they are looking to make a few changes, which are also highlighted in your packet starting on page 105. These changes were discussed over several meetings and reflect the board's opinion that the original purpose of the event grant is to act as stimulus for helping new or existing events grow and become self-sustaining. Its purpose is not to become a yearly entitlement. To that end, the Tourism Advisory Board feels like an event grant should have a limit of public funding, which was not included in the original draft of the event grant. So these changes limit one event to receiving full funding of $20,000 for each of the first 3 years and are limited to $10,000 for each of the remaining 2 years. In essence, the event can receive $60,000 in total for the first 3 years and an additional $20,000 for the remaining 2 years.
This has been a home run at a lot of events in the county, so it's a really good program. And we're still having, if I may ask, we're still having a lot of people apply, correct?
We are.
I did receive a phone call from someone about this.
Okay.
And they believe that not allowing any of that to be used for planning purposes limits the number of events that you're going to have, because a lot of your nonprofits don't have the money to spend up front on the planning event for the event. So in other words, if they're going to spend $20,000, they're not allowed to spend $1,000 of it for any planning or consulting or doing anything to help put it together. And that they said that, in their opinion, was a weakness with the grant proposal, and they think that we should look at that in the future to allow some percentage, whether it's 10% or 5% of the grant proposal, allow it to be used to go into the planning process so that they could do more events than what we're having. So I just throw that out there to share what was shared with me.
I've had the same conversation.
I have as well.
Okay.
So
I agree.
We'll make note of that and share that with Ms. Kugler and the Tourism Advisory
we can
Board.
amend this at a
Absolutely.
future meeting, but it would need to go back to the advisory board.
That's
and
correct.
then they'll bring it back to us. But I think maybe a consensus is maybe that they should look at that. And I'm not saying that it should be a big amount, but maybe a 10% or a 5% amount that could be used for planning the event. So, any other questions? Hearing none, we need a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion for approval.
Second.
Have a second. Any conversation? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
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 Motion carries. We need a motion to adjourn the Tourism Development Authority meeting.
So moved.
We have a motion? Well, I'll second it. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, you may stay.